you are in a lot of horror movies and science fiction movies. How do you come down from that and not have the nightmares?
I mean, that's an interesting question. I think that the ironic thing is, even with my dad's desire to make sure I didn't have a lot of nightmares, I still had a lot of nightmares growing up. I still have these dreams. It's like the apocalypse is impending, and I'll have to talk to somebody about that, I guess, one day, of like, what does that mean? So I think that what I'll talk about is how to get out of maybe this very depressed or sad or very unfortunate circumstance character.
Yeah.
Because when that is not what I'm living every day. And it is difficult. It does stick with me a bit. I do things like meditation and journaling, recognizing the things I have in my life that I'm super grateful for.
I want to welcome you to another episode of Media from the Heart. My name is Ruth Hill and I'm your host. And today I have a very sweet and special person on my podcast. I've known her for a while, but this was actually our first meeting. And I'm so excited to bring it to you. Her name is Rachel Amanda Bryant. She is an actress, but that is an understatement because she is so much more than just an actress. She's so much more than a horror actress. She's so much more than just an independent filmmaker. And I look forward to the day. Well, I don't want to give anything away. I want you to sit back and see who this woman is. Find out more about her. She gives some great advice, some tips, and she has a lot of information about who she is as a person and as a creative artist. So sit back and relax as I present to you my dear friend, Rachel. I want to welcome you to another episode of Media from the Heart. My name is Ruth Hill and I am your host. And today I have the amazing, unbelievable Rachel Amanda Bryant. She is gorgeous. She is gorgeous, talented.
Oh, you're so sweet.
And I am so happy to have you here. It is such a joy. I always love getting to interview anybody. I just love having conversations. And you and I have known each other for a little while.
I know.
But
it's crazy how long we've been communicating, but the first time that you and I have had a face-to-face.
Exactly. And so the next time I'm in LA, we're gonna have to do a meeting.
Yes, please.
Yeah, for sure.
I have to take you to coffee and we'll have a great time.
That would be great. We're gonna have to do that. But I'm so grateful that Zoom now gives us all these different options to be able to meet people virtually. And thank you for being here.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
I want to give a brief introduction to Rachel here. She has an amazing website. You can find out just about anything you want to about her. And it's all just amazing stuff. What I love is when we start is your bio, you say you're here to tell stories about amazingly capable and flawed women. I think that's a fantastic line there. And so for those of you who are not familiar with Rachel, she's been in Lifetime's In Bed with the Killer. There's also an indie horror called Death Day. And we might touch on those. We'll see how that goes. And she's got something out on Netflix called Yes Day. And she's producing, she stars in these things, she has all these things, but she's born in Colorado, so she's a Broncos fan.
I am Broncos. Woohoo!
And she loves football and she plays fantasy every year. So
and you can see my trophy right here.
Oh my goodness. Oh wow. Oh wow, I'm glad you pointed that out. And she says she loves the Bay Area because you now live in in LA, in that area. And she says it's beautiful and has the best food. I love that you said that, because not everybody has that idea about Los Angeles. A lot of people, sometimes LA gets a bad rap.
Yeah, there's a lot of transplants in LA, but once you're like, hey, I'm going to be here, let's enjoy the ride, then you find beautiful things.
Exactly. So she went to Chapman University for college, got a BFA in theater performance, along with a BA in French and a minor in English, which means like she's like this. It wasn't enough to get just one degree.
I'm an overachiever, I think is what it is.
I love that. And she loves cats. Very important there.
When I say I love cats, it's like I will sometimes cry about how cute cats are. They fill my heart. I am the crazy cat lady. I want to have cats just like on top of me at all times. So there's some context for that.
Okay. I hear you. Well, you and I could have a long discussion, because I live in the country, and at one time we had 19 cats, because all the neighborhood cats that were feral came our way. We got them all fixed. We only have, I think, 5 cats left now, because they either moved on or passed.
Yeah.
But we actually tamed some feral cats. So the cats we have in our house right now were born in the wild.
Wow. See, they could tell that you're a cat person. Cats can tell.
I never was. I actually didn't.
Really?
I wasn't really a huge fan of cats, but then I really got into it. Actually, the challenge of taming feral cats, I think, is where I really began to love them. Because when you start taming feral cats, it is unlike any other experience.
I have not done that yet. That is something that fascinates me. A really good girlfriend of mine, she just let this cat that had hanging around her apartment come in and slowly started feeding him, and then eventually never let him back out again. And he was happy as a clam. He loved being an indoor cat at that point.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, so of course we have that cat thing. We could probably spend the entire conversation on that.
We could spend a good hour, 4 hours talking about cats, but I won't do that to the audience.
Right. And she usually is watching something sci-fi, big sci-fi nerd. In fact, I love that you said, in fact, I stole this line when I was writing about you, when I sent an email inviting everybody today. Star Wars loving cat cuddler. I love that. That is fantastic. So
very accurate.
I love your bio because it is really interactive. And I love that you just touch on so many different things, because so often when we think of I'm an actor, and it's like you get almost put in a box of, okay, you're an actor, or you're a director, or you're a writer, and you're so much more than that.
Sure.
And your bio really paints that picture. So, did you write the bio yourself? I'm curious.
I did. Yeah, actually.
Bravo.
I think that you're right, though. There had been this trend for a while, like a few years ago, that as actors, we had to be very serious and, be like vessels where characters are put on top of us. And I think that has shifted with social media and platforms like TikTok, where authenticity and being yourself is so important, that now as actors, that's what I bring to the table is myself into the role, if that makes sense.
Yep, it does.
So my bio is reflecting that.
That's awesome. No, I love that. And even from when I got to interview you a while back, I always did notice that about you, is you were just so real, so authentic, even before it was the thing to do. I think the pandemic also changed things, because now we're used to seeing people in their living rooms or their kitchens, and we get to see into their houses, and then the animal interrupts them, or a child comes and interrupts them, and we love that, and we actually celebrate those times.
It humanizes everybody. It was very much like the pandemic really flattened the playing field, or whatever the expression is. It really made it even, that everyone's in the same predicament. We're all in a house trying to deal with this extraordinary event, trying to survive and flourish in this time of great stress. and your kid is going to open the door and come in and ask something super inappropriate while the boss is like, how hilarious. It's a comedy of errors, really, is what it is.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. Well, I know that you got started really in and I think you still love being a part of this world, but you kind of got started with independent film. That was where you first got going, which I always think is fascinating because people used to think there used to be almost a stigma, I think, from what I picked up with independent film. Well, those are the actors and creatives that can't make it in the real acting world, so they can just go over and do it in film, and it doesn't have to be anything good, and they can just like throw something up there and not spend any money.
Right.
But that is so untrue, especially as we've seen independent films making their way into the big name cinemas now. I mean, even the last Academy Award went to a movie that was, I think, originally was pretty independent. Coda.
Yeah, Coda was essentially an independent movie that got bought for distribution by Apple.
Yeah.
What an incredible story for that group of storytellers, right? Like, who would have thought that they would be standing on that stage, whenever that was, a week and a half ago, accepting this award when they started. And that's, I think, what's so cool about filmmaking is you don't know where the journey is going to take you. There's multiple thousands of ways, but what's cool is you might meet a bunch of people, or you might end up in this other place, you might end up on a big stage or a smaller stage. It's so unexpected and fulfilling.
True.
Yeah.
Now, I know that when I interviewed you before, we talked a little bit about your background, but just because I have this feeling that a lot of my viewers are probably not going to go back and read that interview just because they're listening right
Understandable,
now.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So if you could quickly, you don't have to spend a lot of time, if you could quickly give us a little background on how you got into acting.
Yeah, totally. I was in high school and I saw this advertisement for the community theater for Anne of Green Gables, and I thought, well, maybe I'll try this out. And I booked the role of her best friend Diana, and I was on stage. It was like a 3-4 week run on stage, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I said, this is it. This is what I want to do. It was so cool to create a family with these kids, to all be coming together to create the same outcome. We were all on the same page, working towards the same outcome. That's when I had that bug. Went to college, got a BFA, moved to Los Angeles, started out in independent film. And I still do a fair amount of independent stuff now because it is so much more well respected, I think. And now I've seen the shift in my career since my Lifetime movie, where I'm now auditioning for bigger budget television shows. And it's just me and my manager are like, that big break is coming. We're excited for when it happens. It feels like I'm on the precipice of something bigger than I even really fully understand, I think. But that's what's so tantalizing about a career like this, is because you never know what's around the next corner.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, I mean, congratulations on getting that Lifetime role, because I know that
Thank you.
That's just that's of course. I mean, there's beauty to independent film, and you have a lot more freedom, and all those different things, I realize. But let's face it, you also want to be able to have really make a good living doing what, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you do something like that for Lifetime or Netflix or whatever the case might be, then you have a little more steady income, because I know independent film, you don't always know if and when you're going to get paid for doing that,
or if it'll ever come out.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what's so cool about the Coda story is, some of the actors might have had some back end points, or might have had some pay that would happen if it got distribution, or if like these other things happen down the line. So they probably worked for, pennies to their normal rates. They're just there because they're passionate about the project. Now that it's an Oscar winning film, they probably made a bigger payday, and now the doors have been opened for bigger, better, more interesting projects.
Exactly. Yeah.
That makes my heart so happy for them.
Yeah. Just like what you were mentioning with Lifetime, because now you have all the doors are starting to open up.
Yes.
And you have all those things. So that's great. Well, and then I'm sure with you being a sci-fi person, you probably know about Sharknado, because that's always one that I've read the stories about Sharknado being totally independent, and they're not thinking it was going to go anywhere. And then to have what, 5? Were there 5?
5 or 6? And I bet there's going to be another one. My mom loves the Sharknado movies. She is obsessed. She will tell me, we were just talking about this a few weeks ago. She's like, oh yeah, so the 5th one, this is what happens, and this is how so-and-so's in it. And I'm like, Mom, I mean, they're fun, but I can't remember which one is which. She loves those, there's a new one I saw, like Velocipaster or something. It's like there's all these crazy sci-fi movies that are super fun, and I think that those creators recognize the hilarity of what they're doing, the campiness of what they're doing, and part of that process is super fun too.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, so you have been in horror films.
A lot of horror films, actually.
Yeah, well, because I know that now I'm not a horror film person. I'm
really not a horror fan either.
Okay.
And yet here I am dying over and over again.
Okay, well it's so I don't really watch horror films. I mean, I have watched maybe a couple here and there, but it's not necessarily. Now sci-fi, I have grown to love. I used to be totally anti-sci-fi. Like,
oh, really?
I liked Star Wars, but like anything else, no. And it took me a really long time because I went into it with preconceived notions originally of, okay, I didn't like Star Trek when I was growing up, and so all sci-fi is like Star Trek. I mean, the old Star Trek, because for me, the old Star Trek, now I think it's great, but when I was growing up, it was like, this is stupid. That was like, what is this? And my mom,
people are in space. What are they doing?
I didn't like it when I was growing up, and so I had this idea of, all sci-fi shows are like that. And then I started watching them. I'm like, oh my goodness, sci-fi is so deep. And
it's very diverse in what stories can be told in the sci-fi genre.
Yeah. But that's interesting. So you're not a horror fan, but you've been in these horror films.
I've become more of a horror fan as I've gotten into more of the world. Yeah. But when I was growing up, I wasn't really allowed to watch really scary movies. And my dad would always say, it gives me nightmares. I don't want you to have nightmares. And I'm like, I don't want to have nightmares either.
Right.
So it was something that I dove into as I got older, as I ended up in the horror world, doing horror films, going to horror festivals, having to watch other horror films because I'm part of a horror festival, and being like, but there's a lot of really interesting themes in horror films. I mean, there's a lot of not great horror, in the same way there's not a lot great independent film too. I mean, you can find that in anything, but the really great horror really makes me think about myself and my identity and where I land in this world. What would I do if I'm that desperate? How much of a monster is really inside of me, and it's scary, but it's very eye-opening. It's very thought-provoking when there's a really interesting, good horror premise.
Wow, that's an interesting way to look at it. I think my daughter's 18, and I think she does watch some horror films. So that's why once in a while I have seen them. But, but I will say that the horror fan community is absolutely incredible.
They're incredible.
I cannot believe how supportive and kind they are, because I've interviewed a few actors that have done horror films, and they have just been so kind
Yes.
to always support me and start following me, even though it's like I'm not doing a lot of horror stuff, and they'll be like, "Oh, that was great that you interviewed so and so," and they
Yeah.
and so I love that there's such a beautiful community. Maybe it's not my style of film that I would choose to go and watch on a regular basis, but the community is so beautiful. So
It really is. They're so supportive, and they watch everything. Like, even the stuff that, most people might be like, that's not a very good movie. The horror fans are just excited to get that content and to see everything they can get their hands on. And that's what's so beautiful to me. They want to connect, they want to support, they want to help fund projects. And I was just part of this crowdfund for a film, and we had so much interest just because it was a horror film. They are really a great group of people that want to see horror being made.
That's pretty cool. It's too bad we can't harness that kindness and support and just have everything. Like, it probably wouldn't be the thing to do, but man, it would be so great to get out and say, let's let everybody follow the example of the horror fans.
Yeah.
Let's all be like them. And probably a lot of people would think, what on earth are you talking about?
You know what? It just starts with one person, and you're making it happen, Ruth. You're making it happen.
Well, for me, even if I don't watch everything that somebody is a part, does, because I interview a lot of different people, and sometimes there are shows or films that I don't watch of theirs, but I can even recognize then that, okay, but they are good at what they're doing. They're telling a story. They're supportive and kind and so involved, often, very involved in community projects, and so they're and their lives are so full and rich, and they want to share it with me. Then of course I'm going to support them. I have no.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of how you and I connected. I was not even that familiar with your work at that point, but I knew that you had something special. And of course, now that I'm getting a chance to see you virtually, well, of course you have something special. I see it. It shines through the screen. I can see it exactly. So,
well, you just are the sweetest.
Thanks. So why don't we at least talk about some of your current upcoming projects that you might want to promote?
Yes. Well, there's a few things. So that horror film I mentioned that had a great crowdfunding campaign, it's called Craving.
Okay.
We're shooting that in the second half of May here in Los Angeles. And it's an ensemble film. A lot of it happens in one location. And it really dives into the themes of addiction. Ooh. And how what I touched on before, but the monsters that are inside all of us and how we deal with that. I'm super excited for that. We have some horror names attached, like Felissa Rose and Bill Oberst Jr., Glenn Plummer. Okay. So we have some good people that are attached already, which is I'm excited to. It'll probably create a lot of fervor once it's shot and ready to go.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I recognize some of those names. So yes, you've got a good group there for sure.
Good group. So that's shooting it next month. I'm super excited.
Wow, that's cool. For those who might not know, what is crowdfunding?
Yeah, so it's this idea of you put out like a website or a video on YouTube or something, and you say, hey, I want to make this movie. Here's the concept of it. And if you want to be a part of the creation of it, donate some money to the project. And if, let's say, you got 100 people all donating $100, you would have money now to shoot that project. They ended up raising $55,000 through this crowdfund, and it was through Indiegogo. So Indiegogo is like a website that actually is all about crowdfunding, and it's not just for films too. Indiegogo might have or like Kickstarter will have like, I want to make a wallet that's made of, I don't know, duct tape. And, would someone help me with the creation of this so that I can sell it? And then people can donate money to the creation of that product. So it's about like a community coming together in a way to create a project with their funds and with support and stuff like that. So yeah, it's pretty cool that they raised so much money for this indie feature.
It is. No. Well, thanks for explaining that, because I was just thinking, I know what you're talking about, but I had this feeling like some people might not. So
that's true. That's true. And I forget that like certain things are so part of like the acting community. I'm like, oh yeah, it makes sense. Maybe no one has heard of what a crowdfunder is.
Exactly. No.
Yeah.
All right. So you've got that coming up. And any other projects you want to mention?
I am. So I wrote a vampire movie that I shot last year. It's a short. So that's almost done, and that's going to be on the festival circuit coming up in the fall. And I acted in that as well. And then I'm doing a play.
Wow.
So it's been many years, pandemic, but the last time I was on stage was 2018, July of 2018. So it'll have been 4 years later. I'm going to be back on stage. It's a play called By the Way, Meet Vera Stark. It's about a white actress in the 30s and her Black maid, and how the maid is actually wanting to be an actress as well. And it shows the inequity of these two women both pursuing their dreams. Vera Stark is the name of my maid / best friend, and it's her journey as she tries to get some opportunity as an actor in Hollywood.
Oh, that's cool. I love the fact that live theater is really starting to come back.
It is.
And as we're lifting the restrictions more and more, and
yes.
And so it's got to be, because I know I've been watching over the past couple of years, I've been watching very closely how the pandemic's affected my acting friends, and directing, producing, all in the film and TV industry, and it's just like, I know it was so hard to watch. I mean, sometimes I would just look at my life and think, well, at least I can go on and do things, but you guys were just kind of sitting there. Well, thankfully, most were not sitting there just twiddling their thumbs.
That's true. That's true. But it would have been okay if that's what happened, because like we were all going through this very traumatic event together, Right. But it was tough. It's tough when you can't get on set, you can't get on stage. What do you do? And to your point, kind of at the beginning of this conversation, is it really reminded me that my identity is not wrapped up in me as an actor, and nor should it be.
Yeah. Well, and it was wonderful to see creatives leading the way and doing so many interesting things, reinventing the whole acting, film, TV. I mean, all the stuff that started happening, people shooting films through and shows through Zoom.
Yeah.
And I mean, it just is wild that those kind of things. I mean, there was even a network show, All Rise. They did an entire show where they shot everything through Zoom, like it was all virtual, and it was like, how did they? And I watched that episode, and I was like, this is really cool. This is like, and then a lot of my friends were doing different things, and so, but
it's interesting as artists. I think we thrive when parameters are put on us. And I think that's what the pandemic reinforced for a lot of people, is like, wait a second, I've got to think about telling a story in a different way, or I've got to think about exploring myself as an artist in a different way. How do I do that? A friend of mine started doing these Zoom script readings of classic, amazing scripts. It was called Zooming the Movies. And so it's just actors on Zoom reading these amazing screenplays. And it was almost like doing a play while on Zoom, while people are watching. People are, oh, this is so great. Oh, I love this. And like falling in love with some of these classic films. That's was so fun to me, is the innovative minds that came up with different ways of telling story during the pandemic.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, that sounds really cool. Wow. I would love to see. I'd love to see something.
Yeah, there's a Facebook group, Zooming the Movies. Kevin Pollak is the guy who started it. I'm pretty sure it's Kevin Pollak. He's a Chicago actor, so I met a bunch of actors from all over the states just from doing this. Right? It's a really cool idea. And they're still doing Zooming the Movies because why not?
Well, yeah. I hear you. It's Zoom is here to stay. It's like TikTok's here to stay.
Yes,
different things.
Yes.
So, well, I'm sure at this point Paula probably already has some questions, so I'm going to bring her on because I know that.
How many questions are about cats, Paula? I'm ready.
I have a story about a cat, but I was going to save that for the end.
I'm all ears.
I was driving by my son's house and I noticed the door was open. So it was winter, snow, 3 feet of snow. I walked up, shut the door because they were both at work, and I continued on doing what I was doing. 3 days later, they keep on hearing this meow and this meow and this meow. 2 feral cats had gotten into the basement, and one of them had kittens in my son's hockey bag.
In his hockey bag,
which was disturbing to somebody who loves hockey. So she was able to get rid of to find homes for the mother and the kittens. Aww. But she couldn't for what we call the aunt, the other feral cat. So I have a feral cat living with me. He's been here like 5 years now, and my sister got 3 of the kittens.
That's sweet.
In our life also. So I was just joking when I mentioned I can talk about cats. And it's so funny that you said you like cats.
I do. I love them so much. More cats. And that's what I love about TikTok, is the cat content. If you guys haven't.
I haven't learned TikTok yet. I'm just learning how to find Zoom.
Don't worry. You're good. You'll see it eventually. Yeah. People will share videos with you and you'll see there's just a lot of great cat content on TikTok.
Yeah. All right. So for my questions, I quickly wrote down. If there was an old classic movie that you would like to be in, what would it be and what character would you be?
Philadelphia Story.
Oh.
And I would love to be, and now I'm blanking on the actress's name, the lead in that. What is her name? You guys know who I'm talking about.
Katharine Hepburn.
Katharine Hepburn, yes.
Oh.
She is such an incredible actress, and she's always so strong and herself. And she does not, kowtow to other people. She's convicted. I've always really admired her work, and and at the same time, she's so vulnerable, even with her strength. That would be such an incredible movie to be a part of. And also, for the horror thriller fans out there, Aliens. With Sigourney Weaver. I would love to be Sigourney Weaver. Also, she has a cat in that movie.
Oh.
I think that's why. I think I've just fallen in love with that component of it.
Well, there's something to dream about.
It's true.
Well, Ruth recently had Ryan Brace on, and he talked about the after effects of a very it was scary movie he had done, and he was surprised that it took so long to let it go. You are in a lot of horror movies and science fiction movies. How do you come down from that and not have the nightmares?
I mean, that's an interesting question. I think that the ironic thing is, even with my dad's desire to make sure I didn't have a lot of nightmares. I still had a lot of nightmares growing up. I still have these dreams. It's like the apocalypse is impending. I'll have to like, talk to somebody about that, I guess, one day of like, what does that mean? So I think that what I'll talk about is how to get out of maybe this very depressed or sad or very unfortunate circumstance character.
Yeah.
Because when that is not what I'm living every day. And it is difficult. It does stick with me a bit. I do things like meditation and journaling, recognizing the things I have in my life that I'm super grateful for. And also I'll say too, I was taught at an early age in my acting education to always have 2% of your body aware that it's not real. And there are days that's better and it's worse, where I'm able to have like, more than that percentage or less than that percentage. But as long as I strive to remind myself, this is just not real, it's easier for me to let it go. There's one particular instance, and I won't go into graphic detail, but I was getting eaten by zombies. And it's a fake body. It's just my head looking at a fake body, but it appears to be attached to it from my vantage point. And I remember being on set that day, watching these gross looking, actors that are all made up to look like zombies. And I had this moment of, oh, what am I doing? This is scary. This is terrifying. That adrenaline started going like, am I going to survive this? And then thankfully that 2% of my brain is like, wait a second, remember you're on set right now. This is not real. These are actors. And then of course, thankfully someone yells cut. And then I see the facade fall, right? I see the wizard behind the curtain, so to speak. And that helps remind me, oh yeah, this is not real.
A good buddy also helps too, if you have someone you can turn to.
Yeah. My partner, my boyfriend he's very logical. I'm very and he's very, steady. And he always helps keep me very grounded if there are times when I'm feeling like I might just fly away,
It's really kind of interesting to hear that. Now we've heard it twice because there's so many movies out there and you just wonder how they can quickly do it and just walk away, and he also mentioned about he journals. So it is a good help, to do that.
Yeah, I think it's a reinforcement of what is real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you've made science fiction, you made the horror movies. I'm going to give you 4: a comedy, a musical, Western, or a rom-com. What do you choose?
Okay. I'm not a very good singer, so I'm going to let go musical.
Okay.
I want to be in a rom-com so bad. I want to have Meg Ryan's career from the 90s. It was in such cute movies. Sandra Bullock also. I've been leaning into comedy more recently, which I enjoy because it isn't as heavy as some of these other things I've been doing. And I am excited to see a rom-com come to me. I can feel like it's like, okay, this is supposed to happen soon.
Good.
Yeah. And only if there's cats in it, though.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
Some kind of cat love triangle. I don't know. Anyway, okay. We're spitballing ideas. We'll come up with a script after this.
Right. Yeah, they already did 9 lives, so you have to come up with another one. Yeah. So actor, writer, director, producer. Which would you choose?
Well, I've done everything. Okay. I've done acting, obviously. I've been writing recently. I wrote this vampire script and I produced several things.
Oh.
What I haven't done is direct film yet. I have directed stage. So my next big challenge, I think, is directing film.
Nice.
And what is interesting about being a director on film is not just like getting the performances and making sure the story is there, but also the usage of the visuals. How is the shot framed? What's in the shot? How do we get to the shot? Like the camera movements into these scenes also all tell the story. So that's where I find, that's a bit more of a challenge.
Yeah. I'm not from your world and I don't quite understand everything. That's why I ask different questions about directors and actors and that. How did you find, or how do you have a good agent? What are their parts to making your career move forward?
So I have a manager and an agent.
Okay.
Both of them help me find work, like through auditions. Both of them represent me in, contract negotiation. My manager more takes over like the whole career, meaning like make sure I'm at the right place at the right time, make sure that if we need certain things in place, those things are taken care of. And the agent is a little bit more on the side of like handling the business and the money and that kind of thing. Yeah. And they find auditions for me through various sites in here that are here in the industry, websites and phone calls, that kind of thing.
But for you to find yours, the one that the that you're working, is there a list, or does someone put out your name? Or
there is a list of reps on various websites that actors could hop onto to see, like backstage.com has a lot of resources. I found mine. So there's a casting website where I have a profile, and I had indicated through like one of the boxes that I was looking for representation. This was 7 years ago now, I guess. And my manager found me and was like, let's have a meeting. I would love to talk to you. And then she helped me get my agent. But you could just send an email to an agent based on that list you find online and say, hey, I'm an actor, I'm looking for representation. Here's, what I've done recently, what I would like to do in the future. Yeah.
And then the last one that I have is what would you be doing if you weren't acting?
So I love traveling. I love learning about the history of a place, going to see the museums that has all the art, especially European travel. I did a lot of traveling as a child. I was very lucky in that. I would love to be a travel vlogger. So showing the world to people who aren't able to travel, showing them the history, showing them other cultures, eating different foods that seem so different to what I normally eat, and yet it's so rooted in the culture of that place I'm visiting. I will try anything once, for better or for worse. I'll try anything once. And if I could be paid to travel around the world and share my stories, I would totally do that.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I'll carry your bags if you go.
Okay, sounds good. We could have a great trip.
I love to travel too.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Of course. What great questions. Thank you.
Now you see why I was raving about her.
Oh yeah. She deserves all the praise.
Exactly. She does. She is very committed, and she often does a lot of research, and she just asks those questions that I wouldn't always think to ask. And so
I love it.
Now I wanted to go back to something about looking for managers and agents, because I thought that was an interesting thing. And I think what you had to say would be helpful if somebody is listening and they might be interested. I have actually been asked before, do you have to pay a manager or an agent to represent you?
No. And if they ask for money, then they are not legit.
Exactly. Okay. And that's what I thought, but I thought I'm going to use this as a moment, because people come to me thinking that I have all these contacts. Well, I do have some contacts, but then they'll say, well, so-and-so wants me to pay this money or that money. And it's like
red flag, Yeah. A legitimate representative will only get paid when you are paid for your work.
Exactly. Right.
Mhm.
Thank you, because now it's like I can say it's not just me saying it, because it's like, okay, but I know an actress. I talked to an actress, and you could actually look up the episode, and she's got some information here for you.
Yes, yes. I'm glad that because unfortunately there's a lot of people out here to take advantage of those that are just trying to follow their dreams or exploring if they want to really follow their dreams. And so I'm so glad you brought that up. Like, we need to get all of that information out there. Like, do not pay somebody. And it sounds too good to be true. It probably is. If someone's like, yes, you give me $500, I'll make sure you're on a Nickelodeon show tomorrow. That's probably not real.
Exactly. Yeah. When you talked about wanting to do a rom-com, I mean, I was looking at you, and I was thinking, because of course I have a lot of friends that do Hallmark movies and other rom-coms.
I would love to do a Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
That is definitely on my list.
And I was looking at you and thinking, yep, I could so see you doing that. And I know some people are like, well, but she's done horror stuff. Well, if you look up the backgrounds of almost any actor, who, even the ones that are doing lots and lots of Hallmark movies, if you go into what they did in their past, you're probably going to find some things that don't sound very Hallmark-like.
Yes.
Especially when you're first starting out.
Yes.
You want to pay the bills, and and you're not being offered those big roles. You got to start somewhere. So.
Yes, it's so true. It's so true. I do think that my look, my branding, my essence really lends itself nicely to Hallmark. I've auditioned for a few. The right one hasn't come up yet, but what's cool is I'm getting chances to audition for those. And so I'm excited. I know my grandmother was really, she's still with us, but I think she's unfortunately on the decline. But she was like, Rachel, I just want to see you on Hallmark. And I'm like, grandmother, I'm trying. So, hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll be able to do that sooner than later and give her that.
Yeah. Oh, well, now I really want it to happen for you, because I have this feeling that, even because my dad's also on the decline, so I can understand that. But I have that feeling that would be something that she might still be able to be aware of, because I think there's something about that. So okay, well, we're gonna put that out into the universe that it's happening. I mean,
yes.
So Rachel, you're going to be, I don't know how it's going to happen.
My arms are open.
We're putting it out there. It's going to happen. Well, the really great thing, I think, and just rom-coms in general, all these networks are popping up. You've got Hallmark, and Lifetime is even doing rom-coms, which is wild,
Yeah, they're steering away a little bit from the thriller thing and embracing more of the rom-com thing.
Yeah. So you got that, you've got Up TV, and then GAC is the newest one, and
right.
And then networks. I mean, what is it? Now networks are jumping in and doing Christmas movies and Christmas rom-coms. So the options are out there. So it's going to happen.
Yeah. Yes.
It's happening.
I'm excited for it to happen.
And I'm going to make sure that, and then I could just say, I said it, we said it. Put it out.
I will attribute this in part to you, Ruth, for sure. And Paula, as a witness.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. We were there for you. Well, man, I'm thinking the whole travel vlogging thing you're mentioning, you could just add that to, why not? There's a lot of actors out there that do blogs on the side, vlogging, and so hey, we've put that out there too. So hey, you could be.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that, because so my brother and I started a podcast like a year ago, and so context of this, he's much older than I am, so we don't know each other that well. So we're using this podcast as a way of getting to know each other better. Okay. And one of the questions he asked was that question: if you weren't an actor, what would you do? And I asked him, if you weren't a tech guru, he's a computer engineer. I was like, if you weren't doing computer engineering, what would you do? But I told him, I was like, I want to be a travel vlogger. And then ever since that conversation, which happened like maybe 2 or 3 months ago, I've been like, wonder if I could figure out if I just start small with like the LA area, show off some fun places to eat and explore and make like a different Instagram or something for it. So it's on my mind. It's definitely there.
I think you should go for it. I just could see that. I could see that opening some more doors, whether you end up doing it through a YouTube channel or Instagram or TikTok or whatever you happen to do. It's so many of my actor friends are not just actors, and not that acting. I realize, and I just say that they're so much more than that. They're acting, and I mean, good grief, my boss is an actor, but that's like one of 19 things he's doing. So it's like, so I think it'd be great. I'm
maybe this was the little push I needed.
Well, Rachel, I'm going to follow up because I'm going to find out.
Okay.
I think you should just even starting small. You just never know where that could lead, and that could just start opening lots of doors, and you could get to be a travel vlogger, and then maybe they'll have a rom-com where she's a travel vlogger, because there are rom-coms. I've seen that. I've seen travel vloggers and featured as the lead characters in rom-coms. So
yeah, you're right. I see what you're saying.
Yep. I think you should do it. I mean, you have, and I know I've complimented you a lot, but quite seriously speaking, you have this really great persona online that just, when you're being just you, I mean, you're vivacious and fun, and you've got a great voice as far as talking, and it's pleasant to listen to, fun to listen to. So
you're so kind. Thank you. I hear that. I receive that. Thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome, and I'm very sincere on that. I can see this being a thing. So I'm going to follow up with you.
Okay, I like this accountability here.
That's right.
Yes,
it's kind of like when I started this podcast. I didn't know what I was doing. I really didn't. I've learned a lot. I keep learning and keep growing, I was kind of against doing a podcast. I don't want to do a podcast. And then I just like, I'm going to try it. And then before long, it's like, I love this. So.
And you have to enjoy it too. And I think you really do enjoy conversation. And that's what I so appreciate about you is you are excited to get to know people regardless of their background, what they do, where they're going, because that's humanity, right? That's life, right?
Well,
and I appreciate you for being open to everything.
Well, thank you. I really receive that for sure, and I appreciate that you recognize that, because that's really what I want to come across is I'm not one that ever would crave being in the spotlight and being up front. It's not like I have to have that. And that, I think that was actually what held me back for a while. Like, I don't want to be in the spotlight, but I love the fact that I can shine the spotlight on people just like you, and we can have these real conversations. And I just love it. I just get so excited to have, like, if somebody wants to talk to me, let's just get it and talk.
Yeah. Let's do it. Yeah. Well, you're very good at this. So I think you are finding your authentic path, I guess, which is cool. It's cool to watch.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So we know you love cats, you love sci-fi.
I think we've established that I love cats, but I want to make sure everyone is aware of it.
Okay.
I want to make sure.
There we go. So you mentioned food. Now I just got to bring this up because so would you call yourself a foodie a bit?
I would, yes.
Okay. What kind do you have a favorite kind of food, like either to eat, cook, anything like that?
Oh, I am non-discriminatory. I love cooking Italian food, and it's not super like difficult what I do. I'm not like a really well-trained chef or anything, but I like being able to add seasonings and make something really taste delicious without adding like a bunch of butter, although butter is amazing. But like there's a lot of really great flavors that are just seasoning based, and I've really been embracing that over the last couple of years. The pandemic helped me like explore some different things in my cooking repertoire. I fell into the sourdough bread baking thing that everyone did. I could never really get it right, unfortunately. I had some loaves come out that were okay. But I love eating good Italian food. A big bowl of pasta with a sauce that's just been made with love, with a beautiful protein on top, whether it's fish or chicken. Getting me hungry, Ruth.
I'm here.
Oh,
You're talking my language. My goodness, food. That was always my thing. That's always,
yes.
yeah. It's like, so yeah. Now my mouth's watering. It's like, what?
We need to make this an interactive food podcast next time.
There you go. Oh my goodness. No, well, that. Wow. I know now. It's like I can't get my mind off food.
I know. I'm like, what else do I like to cook? I mean, I try to like cook relatively healthy food. Salmon once a week with broccoli. My dad, he said, you have to eat something green with every meal. If you don't eat something green with every meal, then, you're going to be unhealthy and sad. And I've really taken that mantra, and I've made sure my boyfriend hears it too. I'm like, I'm making salad with our salmon tonight. We're getting broccoli tonight. We're getting spinach.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, okay. So then what about dessert? Are you into desserts at all?
So I am a salt person. I'm not a sweets person. So like I like dessert, but what it is I would eat one bite of something and I'd be done. Mm-hmm. It's too sweet for me. I don't know what that means. Like if I drank a lot of Diet Coke like 10 years ago, and maybe it like messed with my taste buds, but I crave chips and cheese and a salty like Brussels sprouts. That's what gets my motor running. And then I'll have one bite of like a chocolate cake, and then I'm satisfied.
Okay.
Yeah. But you give me a cheese board any day. Some salami.
Yeah.
Are you a big sweets person?
No, I'm not a big
Oh, really?
person. No. I like them. But I actually, carbs were always my downfall. That was always my thing. It was, I could just eat. I could eat a whole. You talk about pasta. I mean, pasta. I could just keep eating pasta if I wasn't thinking about it. Or bread, like really good bread.
Oh yes, bread.
Yes. Yeah.
Bread is so good.
So so I better ask you, because you definitely look healthy. So we know that you must eat a somewhat healthy diet. So, but also you're probably have some kind of workout regimen that you follow. I wouldn't be surprised.
I do. There's weeks I'm better at it and weeks I'm not as good at it. That has been the thing that's the hardest for me to maintain, is a workout schedule. But what I do regularly do is I hike at least once a week with my best friend, Grace. We hiked this morning, and I try to do yoga at least once a week. And then I walk around my neighborhood a couple times a week. So it's not super strenuous stuff. I really do wish I had, and I could, I maybe I'll put this out there too, of like embracing a daily workout of some sort, whether it's just a daily 30-minute walk or it's a daily yoga sesh, making it more regular in my routine. But I get very excited about doing things like script analysis, getting ready for a rehearsal or something, memorizing lines, meeting with filmmakers, that I end up letting that fall in my list of things to do.
No, I get it. But when you said hiking and walking, I'm just like, yoga. Hey, you're that's definitely doing something. I mean, at least you have that going, even if you
Yeah.
you know, I mean, hey, and I don't really get much of a chance to hike where I am, but I know when I get the chance to hike, it's always just it's such an experience to be out.
Yeah. Yeah, you should do it more often if you enjoy it.
Yeah, it's part of it is that I would have to drive quite a ways to even get. I mean, I mean, we're somewhat close to the mountains, but it's still an hour and a half, 2 hour drive. So it's not always the easiest, but I always take advantage of it when I can. That is true.
That's good.
All right. Well, to wrap things up, and you have just been delighted. I just love this. Our conversation's been all over the place, and
this has been so much fun.
And I've loved it. And of course, Paula's been a huge part of that.
Yes.
So thank you, Paula.
Paula.
There you go. So is there some quote or something that you saying or something that you kind of live by that you might, or maybe it's a life motto or quote?
There's a quote, and it's going to be so silly because it's Star Wars.
No, go for it. I want to hear it. Perfect.
But I strive to live this way, and the beauty of life is that we're not perfect, right? That we have the opportunity of a new day to try again. So, do or do not, there is no try. Yoda's quote. I also really enjoy the greatest teacher failure is. Those two things will stick in my brain because sometimes it's hard to be like, you know what, I should just put myself out there without knowing the outcome. I could fail miserably. I could not, succeed the way I want to, or I would like to. But the only way I grow in this experience of life is to do it, to just do it.
Exactly. No, that's and those are not funny quotes, because actually when you said Star Wars, that was a quote I was expecting. And I love that because so many times, and I even used to say it myself, I'm going to try to do that. Well, how often if you say you're going to try to do something, chances of you doing it are really 0%. I think. I mean, really, because you're letting yourself off the hook. Like, okay, I'm going to try to do that. No, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm not letting myself off the hook. I'm going to do that. And I know there are times when maybe you fail at it, like you're talking about, but yeah, failure is a great teacher. I could not agree more. I used to be a perfectionist and believe that everything had to be perfect. And I have learned that the times that I look back on my life are when I failed. I mean, I look back at these pinnacle points and it's like, I failed miserably, but I learned so much from it.
Oh yeah.
It becomes a wonderful memory to look back at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's what, is important. Like, you're not going to sit there more than likely when we're like reflecting on our life in our old age, if we're lucky to be old, and thinking about all the moments where it was perfect. We're probably going to think about the moments that we overcame something, that we fostered community with some people in order to overcome something. Like, my guess is, and you hit it right on the head, that's what you're remembering. That's what we're going to probably remember as we get older and older and look back on our lives.
That's right. Oh, Rachel, it has been so great chatting with you.
It's been so great chatting with you. I'm so grateful to have had this part of my Tuesday.
Well, good. I'm glad. It's been a joy to have you. And so, Paula, if you have some parting words for Rachel, feel free.
Yeah. I just wish you best luck. I hope you do get your rom-com soon. There's tons, especially Hallmark, they love the animals. So you should be able to find something with cats in it.
Yes, that'll be the perfect storm, cats and Hallmark. Let's make it happen.
Yeah. Good luck to that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you again, Rachel. Great. And thank you, Paula, for being here. And have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. All right, rom-com movie makers, aficionados, anybody else who absolutely is in love with this woman and captivated with her, as am I. Come on, let's get her that rom-com. Hallmark, Great American Family, Up TV. Come on, this is the woman you've been waiting for. We know it. You could not find a more beautiful, more talented, as a better team player than Miss Rachel Amanda Bryant. So come on, let's do it. Thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast, for watching it. I really hope that you feel inspired. Please share this podcast with your friends, your family. And if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, please subscribe, rate, review. And also, if you happen to be watching on YouTube, thumbs up, subscribe. I really appreciate it. I have so much more that I want to bring to you, more coming. And I'm finally getting a little more consistent with posting these episodes, so thank you for your patience. I want all of you to know that you have been a special part of my life. Please come and join my Facebook group if you haven't, and please come on the podcast. Don't be shy. I feel like there's over 1,000 of you in the Facebook group. Come on. I know a few of you want to come on this podcast. And if you have suggestions, ways that I can make this more engaging, and maybe ways that I can get the information out to you more, maybe I need to do a little bit more promotion, and that's coming. I'm getting there. This is a labor of love, and I'm so glad that you all are a part of it. As you go out today, God bless you all, and know that you are the best. Absolutely. God bless.